The play's put us through hell this time around. Hell's Kitchen is going on right now at the public, but don't worry, it's moving to Broadway. It's got a book by Christopher Diaz and the music and lyrics of Alicia Keys, and it's loosely based on her life. And it's basically about this young teenager, Allie, played by Malia Joy Moon, having it out with her mom, Jersey, Shoshana Bean, and she is just horrible to her mom. I'm sorry, but I really had trouble with this. She's a single mom because the father, played by Brandon Victor Dixon, is just completely useless, and all she wants from her daughter is for her to come home for dinner. But she's a teenager, and so she sasses her mom, and she's like mooning after this, you know, joint compound drummer rap guy, Nuck, Chris Lee. But all this kind of changes for her. She kind of grows up when she meets Miss Liza Jane, Keisha Lewis, because they live in the Manhattan Projects on 42nd Street. And everyone there is an artist, or you hear dancing and opera and all this going on. So it's a very, entertainment centered building. And Miss Liza Jane is at the piano and sings. And she teaches Alicia piano and everything, because Allie turns out to have a sort of talent for this. And the choreography by Camille Brown and the direction by Michael Grief is just astounding. I just had really trouble with the plot because I really hated Allie. I hated how she treated her mother, and I just wanted to smack her.
I didn't find the dynamic frustrating. I also come from a single parent household, so I related to the dynamic that was being portrayed there. I'm a huge fan of Shoshana Bean, so I liked seeing her in this role. I loved the voice of Brandon Victor Dixon, who portrays the father. I know Alicia Keys' music. I don't know it to the greatest extent that I could. So it was fun to get more familiar with the music. It was great to see the songs that I know and love represented in a new format. Some of them were reorchestrated and arranged to fit the narrative. None of them felt jammed in. I think it really redefines what it means to be a jukebox musical. It centers itself around Allie, who we just spoke about, who is loosely based on Alicia Keys, who also grew up in Manhattan Plaza in Hell's Kitchen, the neighborhood in Manhattan. I really enjoyed this show. I give it a happy face.
I was actually surprised that, Alicia Keys would allow herself to be portrayed in such a dreadful manner. I mean, she was just so awful. I mean, I know teenagers are like that, but oh golly, willikers, I just, as a mom, I just couldn't.
Again, it's loosely inspired, so who knows what's fictionalized and what's
But the scenes between her and Miss Liza, with Keisha Lewis were just that part was heartwarming. So I love that part. But yeah,
I thought the show was also a nice love letter to New York City too. The way it recreates kind of the sights and sounds of New York with the ensemble dancing around, with the doorman as a character. I love the show.
I liked it too, except for that. It's like you like to like all the characters. So I'm giving this a happy face minus, just because she gets a minus for her behavior. I got to go to a press conference for this brilliant new play, Our Class from Arlequin, directed by Igor Golyak, whom I just think is brilliant. It's going on till February 4th at BAM. It's part of Under the Radar. And I talked to everybody, and here's a whole bunch of scenes and interviews from there. And go see it. It's a very important play to see.
So I'm Sofia Kapkova. I'm a ballet and theater producer. And this play is very personal to me because I'm Russian. I had a very successful life before February 22nd, and I fled Russia on the third day of the war. And when I came in New York, I've been thinking for a while what I'm going to do here. And this play was always in my heart. I work with the Russian version of this play. And one day I realized that the feelings that I have, the fears and the thoughts, they might be similar to the feelings that people who live on the border of Russia and Ukraine experiencing right now. And exactly our characters, you will see today, they're experiencing the same feelings and thoughts. And as a producer, My goal, of course, to have a very successful sold-out run. But at the same time, what I really want, I want our audience to ask themselves a question. What would I do if I will be in this situation? What would I do if I witnessed the act of rape, the act of killing? Would I be active or silent?
One of the things that is so powerful to us about this project is that our team is international and that our company is international. And in a time when Ukraine and Russia are divided, Israel is having a conflict, America's very divided. We have a Russian producer and a Jewish Ukrainian-born director. I'm an American Christian liberal producer. You know, we've got Andrey who came from Russia. We have Ilia who's from Ukraine. We have people who are Jewish in this cast, people who have Polish roots in this cast. Our scenic designer is from Germany. He's from the Schaubuna, and an international design team. And there is something really incredible about doing a project about people turning on their neighbor and dividing with a group of people that have come together across a bunch of lines.
So the play, our class, is about 10 classmates, 5 Catholic, 5 Jewish, in a small village in Poland. And the play is actually laid out not in scenes, but in lessons, as if it's a class, right? And so we're going to be working on 2 of those lessons today. The first one is lesson 5, but we'll take it from the end of lesson 4.
I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the forgiveness of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Lesson 5.
But it wasn't the Jesus of Nazareth who showed up to judge the living and the dead. It was Joseph Stalin.
Listen, do you think you're less than them?
My friend, we all, to some extent, horses. Each of us is in some way a simple horse. She heaved herself up, stood on even legs, whinnied and wind on her way with a flick of her tail. She went back home and stood happy in her stable, as if she were young called again, unafraid of the hard work ahead, eager for a life lived fully and well.
I like this Soviet Union. No rich or poor, no more prejudice. A Jew and a Pole can sit down, have a beer together, have a dance, see? And no one cares. It's only those criminals in customs who are so screwed up.
Butter. Do me a favor. Just shut up and dance. I wasn't playing a horse.
Then what was it?
What?
Poland. I was supposed to be Poland. It's a metaphor.
1, 2, 3.
Lesson 8.
I was furious with Menachem. He was never there when you needed him. Maybe he had colic, so I gave him some dill tea. Someone knocked.
The Polish army? I joked.
Where's Menachem?
I don't know, out. He's always out. He packed a bag and left. And they left. Like nothing had happened. They just shut the door and walked away. Pain was running through my whole body. But something even worse. The question, who am I? I couldn't forget that in the middle of it. I ran in the kitchen. Igor was sitting up in his cradle, crying, sucking his pacifier, and smiling at me. So said my little son, the evening calls your name.
Hello, here we are with,
Igor Golyak,
and you are the director this time of
our class. I try to do things that I feel are relevant and pointed and urgent in the moment, and this play feels like that is the case. So for me, it's about figuring out the way that will suit the play best. So for example, in this play, it's a very ensemble-based piece. So I wanted to pretty much have nothing on stage and everything created out of nothing. And we started with the concept, what could be backstage? Backstage, there are some ladders, there are some chairs, there could be some towels, there could be some chalk for marking things, and that's what we build on.
Being Jewish, Ukrainian Jewish, it seems to be, you know, when we started reading this in May last year, before October 7th, what I wanted to do is, when I was talking to designers and actors, what I realized is that I don't want to teach any lessons. It's not. I don't want to restore a play in order to teach a lesson. I don't see myself as a teacher in any way, but contrary to that, I think this play is about not what happened, but more urgently what is going to happen. And to realize that this will happen with us. With us being humankind, being Jewish or not Jewish, it doesn't matter, but this will happen. And that's the urgency that I'm collaborating with these beautiful people.
Hello, here we are with,
I'm Tess Goldwyn.
and you are in,
I'm in art class playing Zoha.
and are you the Catholic or the Jewish version?
I'm the Catholic version.
Oh.
Yes, but there is some undertones of a possibility of me having Zoha having some Jewish heritage. So she has a complicated story. Yeah, so Zoha is, I feel like she's the type of girl, later woman who is really like so lustful for life and has such love and dynamic compassion for her classmates, and she ends up falling in love with Menachem, who is one of the Jewish boys in the class, and ends up saving him and hiding him in her hayloft. And after the war, they flee together, and he basically sends her off to America, and she loses him. She loses the one true love of her life. So I think she's someone who's really excited about life and excited about the possibilities of life, and then although all the excitement gets shut down over time as she learns how difficult and unfair the world and the possibility of life can be. So we are a group of kids who are born into this village of Jedwabne in eastern Poland, and yeah, we're just like the kids of the town basically, and it's a town that's partially Jewish, partially Catholic, and these friends live and coexist together for many years, and these families really share this town, and there's a lot of cohesion there. So we're all just in this class together. Like, even though we have different, religious backgrounds, we coexist well. And then it's really only leading up to the start of World War II and the events of July 1941, when this pogrom happens, burning these Jews in this barn, that everything starts to come to head, and a real fissure happens within our class.
Here we are with
Richard Topol. I play Abram in the play Our Class. It's not a good time for the Jews. And
Is it ever a good time for the Jews?
well, I mean, you know, I've lived long enough that it feels like there were better times. It's never been great it's never been great, but there were better times. It feels really important to tell these stories now because there's a lot of people who don't know how horrible it's been for the Jews.
So tell us now about our class.
Okay, our class is a play about a group of classmates, 10 classmates, 5 Catholic, 5 Jewish, in a little village in Poland, and you follow their story from about 1925, 1930 to 2000. In that period of time, the Soviets take over the village for a while, then the Nazis take over the village for a while, then, you know, and the Holocaust happens, then you meet these kids and they're all like friends and they tease each other and they fall in love with each other, and then some of them get married to each other and some of them brutalize each other. Then you sort of are with them after the war, and you know, like when the Polish communists were running the country, and one of the Jews who survives the Holocaust becomes a member of the secret police in Poland and tracks down his classmates who were collaborators with the Nazis and tortures them, and then you live with the survivors. First the story was the Nazis did this, and then the story was the Polish police did it because the Nazis made them to. And then one of the villagers later, you know, at this time in the early 2000s said, you know, we did this, we perpetrated this against our own neighbors. And the sort of dirty secret was kind of a little bit released into the world, and the village struggled with, wait, what is the truth? What really happened? And this story kind of addresses how we all, both as a community and an individual, remember the things that we live through. That part of us, that part of human beings that's willing to do things that if they were just in their right mind, if they just stopped for a second and said, wait, they wouldn't do. But because there's this stampede of humans around them doing it. And I think this play is sort of a warning about that, trying to get people to not stampede, to say stop, step away, breathe, and don't participate like that.
Remember who you are.
Right, and remember that we are all human beings, all of us,
Yeah.
even if we don't tolerate everything about everybody else.
Here we are with Bina Sharif, not as co-host this time, but as playwright. So it'll say playwright underneath instead of co-host. You've got a new play going on at Theater for the New City.
Yeah, I took the slot at the last minute because they had some cancellation or something, and I wasn't really ready. But the play is called Days and Nights. I love the title only. It's like just nice and simple. And myself and Kevin, we are the only people who we can deal with each other and not even deal with each other. So it's very difficult. You know, to work with other actors will be difficult. But this is the only play which I have no idea what it is about. Little bit idea I have. These are 2 tramps.
Oh, sort of like they're like Escape from Godot.
Who knows? I don't know. I love Backward, so maybe
I know.
somewhere there. But they are 2 tramps, right? And they have like a kind of occupied a room in an abandoned building, which might be just like has to go down or something, and they're kind of hiding in a room. And they are so deranged. They are so mental that I'm afraid of myself, right? They are mental. And they have like no idea what their beliefs are, what they are doing, what they are. But they have, they've created a survival system, happiness, you know? They think they're so happy, you know, because this happiness exists for them. So I'm not going to tell everything about this show, you know. So they are like, they're singing, and they are like, every situation makes them happy, you know, like, and then the guy, his name is Patrick, and we call him P, and my name is Barbara, and he called me B, P and B. Huh?
Oh, peanut butter.
Yeah, Barbara and P. You P and B and P and B and B and P, and we are pretty confused. But they're kind of fun too, in a way, because the Kevin's character is very smart, and he recites this and recites that, and she doesn't really remember. His memory is better, like his memory about me is better, It seemed like they've known each other for very, very long time, of course, right? And we have very good chemistry between each other, so we can.
Right, so you're married.
No, that's not the chemistry. There's no chemistry there. But it's like we've been doing theater together for a very long time, So he kind of, when my character become despondent, he reminds me that I am pretty superior, all that stuff, right? And then I just say, I am I? And we do not know what our beliefs are. Are we for, but we are for happiness. This is the good part of the show. And then, I think the more get into a bit more serious towards it, and because he kind of, this is how I justify why she actually becomes serious, because he has been reminding her a little bit here and there, and all of a sudden perhaps her memory, some cracks of her memory comes back, So, but it is we are having a fun doing the rehearsal, right, in some parts. And so I hope people will understand it. It doesn't have a big meaning, but then something happens to us, like a crack happens to us, and we become very, very upset and sad because we feel that illusion. We did not know it's an illusion of happiness, right? But it's kind of, he says happiness is just an illusion. And that's where the sadness comes, because we are so far gone that we do not know. We really believe we are very happy people.
You live in a bubble.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then it bursts.
Go see it, and I'm looking forward to seeing your next play.
It's called comic. What is called comic tragic
comic.
Tragic comic. That's what it is. Mostly comic. I hope so. Because I don't want to deal with tragedies, but it takes a turn, so I don't want to tell you.
Renee Phillippe's Ernie's Secret Life deals with the overcoming fear and coming to terms with choices good and bad that have been made. Ernie feels that his son Daniel, who is away in Nova Scotia, is in trouble and needs him. Unbeknownst to his wife, he sets off in quest to sail in a canoe he built to take him to Nova Scotia. He wants to be like his hero Ernest Shackleton, who saved all his crew who got stranded on their way to the North Pole. One problem, he is scared of the water, so he finds other means of transportation to take him and his boat to find his son. There's fanciful scenes that take place underwater, a romance between fire and a bear, imagined meetings with the son who is in a terrible dilemma. This was not up to the usual high standards of concrete temple theater that I have been attending for 30 years. But like I always say, my favorite companies are allowed one show that doesn't measure up to what I expect from them. The puppets were mostly made from cardboards, which didn't maneuver smoothly. While I could appreciate some moments, as my son also has this problem with water, and the bear was very funny, I found it dragged in spots and got confusing at the end when it became more serious. Despite my disappointment with this, I look forward very much to their next show, Mixed Face.
The New York Gilbert and Sullivan Players are back, this time with a smashing production of The Mikado, considered by many to be the single most popular piece of musical theater ever written. Nanki-Poo, a prince disguised as a wandering minstrel, is in love with Yum Yum, a convent girl who has just come home from school. Yum Yum loves Nanki-Poo back, but is engaged to marry her guardian Coco, the chief tailor and Lord High Executioner of the town of Tichy. Coco is furious and from the first moment plots to do Nanki-Poo in, at least until he discovers that the lonely young man amongst them is none other than the son of the Mikado. At that point, all hell breaks loose. Will decapitation become the order of the day? Will any of these silly names make any sense until you see this play? Then go see it. With musical direction by company founder Albert Bergeret, direction and choreography by David Axier Loyola, and stellar performances by David Wannen, John Charles McLaughlin, David Macaluso, Matthew Wages, David Axier, Elizabeth Cern, Rebecca Hargrove, Sarah Hutchinson, and Hannah Holmes. Sets are stunning, the costumes perfection, and the music sublime. There are 2 more performances, tonight and tomorrow afternoon, January 13th and 14th, at the Cave Theater on East 68th Street. For information and tickets, access the website below. Happy Face Plus.
Peter Mills' wife and Julia Mouncey's open mic night from Under the Radar conjures up a time when unlicensed theater spaces flourish for struggling theater artists, poets, and comics. Julia Mouncey, behind a microphone and soundboard, narrates how she met Peter Mills' wife at one of these places where she did poetry, and he tried to do stand-up, but he wasn't very good in her opinion. Peter proceeds to try and do stand-up, but gets interrupted with a ding for approval from Julia or discordant notes telling him it's time to move on. He asks the audience pointed questions if they prefer one thing or another. When confronted with alcohol or a nice day, I couldn't decide because having alcohol on a nice day sounded perfect, so I said both. He recounted the strange events that happened at this mythical but very familiar venue, bringing up nostalgia and purpose. People gave a shout out to friends. By the end, I felt like I was at a party where I got to meet interesting and unexpected people with Peter and Julie as the hosts and lots of party games. Happy Face. Our next show is January 27th, and other under the radars that I am seeing that you can find all these reviews on our Facebook page. The 7th Voyage of Egon Tichy, Sinking Ship and Theater in Quarantine, January 13th and 14th. Titanic Depression, Dynasty Handbag, ending January 20th. Penny Arcade, going from January 16th to the 21st. Pushkin, Eugene, Onegin is back, in their own words, till January 21st. The Prototype Festival is going on till January 21st at various venues. BizFest is going on till January 14th at Stella Adler Center for the Arts. Exponential Festival is going on till February 3rd at the Brick and Bricks Out. And some special events coming up is a formidable Osnavur with Melissa Errico going, and John and Jules Grison at the Town Hall January 13th at 7:30. Encore's Once Upon a Mattress is happening from January 24th to February 4th. And regular theater, you got Brighter Than the Sun, a new musical at the Chain, going on till January 21st. And interview information, our class, Bam Fisher, is going on until February 3rd, and Bina Sharif's Days and Nights is going on till January 18th at Theater for the New City.